Borderline personality disorder. A disorder of one's personality. Today I wanted to do a special Father's Day episode. When coming up with the idea of this, I'm thinking, do I want to just use broad generalizations of what a father is? A sperm donor. I hear that one a lot. Sperm donor. Whenever I hear women calling the biological father a sperm donor, I just want to look at them and tell them that they're just a cum receptacle. Are fathers to blame for all of us running around batshit crazy? The first thing that pops into my mind when I hear the word father is usually a drunkard who lives in either a friend's garage, basement, or some really crappy one-bedroom rundown shithole. I see their place as being filled with empty pizza boxes, with nasty, moldy Chinese food in the fridge, empty beer cans scattered throughout the place, a half a six-pack in the fridge at all times. That's what I think of when I think of father. I don't know what I'm saying. It's probably because this most likely represents my father almost to a T. Minus the pizza boxes and the Chinese food. This is to Daniel, my father. A tribute, one could say. A thank you for giving me life. Without you, I would not be here. Actually, on second thought, maybe this isn't going to be a tribute at all. To be quite honest with you, Father, I don't understand why you did it. As a child, I felt that you... Okay. As a child, I felt my dad didn't... Father, not a dad. Dad's got to be earned. Growing up, I didn't... My father was in and out. From what I've heard, rumors, he stuck around till I was maybe 7 or so before he just started popping in and out randomly. And by the time I was really starting to be able to form memories of my dad, or my father, he was the Boogie Man to me. He was unpredictable, raging alcoholic. I'd like to tell you my father's origin story. I don't know much. I know he was from the Midwest, that his father had been a heavy drinker. My father turned out to be a very mean, abusive drunk. I turned out to be a very mean, abusive drunk. That's why one of the reasons I don't drink much. Through my childhood, I watched my father constantly beat my mom. I was terrified of him. He was definitely the boogeyman. I didn't mind much that he didn't come around. When he did come around, I was terrified the whole time. I knew it was my responsibility to make sure that he didn't freak out. I knew that my father's happiness, and whether he was in a good mood or a bad mood, had everything to do with me and nothing else. It all had to do with me. If he was upset, it's because I upset him. If he was happy, that's because I brought him joy. Sadly to say, I very rarely brought him joy. Most of the time, I just made him angry, and when he'd get so angry at me, since I was young and a child, he really didn't want to beat me. He hated to beat me. He'd let me know anytime he did that he didn't want to do it. I had just forced him into that position. I'd given him no choice. I tried to not get him that angry, but it was very difficult for me to do. Most of the time, he would beat my mom instead of me. I saw that as being very cunning by beating my mother instead of me, then I get to have that guilt. That was way worse than if he were to just beat me. I could take a beating. I didn't mind it. After the first couple, you get used to it. You kind of go somewhere else when they happen. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It might be different if you knew something different, but when you grow up with it, it's everyday life. You don't see anything abnormal from it. Not that I don't have any good memories of my father. I remember the first time I saw him shave. Well, not actually shave, but when I saw him when he was clean shaven, I did not know who he was. I really didn't. I was terrified because I went outside to play. Then when I went back inside, there was this guy that I had no idea who it was. And it took him a long time to convince me that it was him. He found it hilarious, but it freaked me out. One could call that a good memory. He was in a good mood that day. He didn't beat anybody. My father could make the world's best chicken.
Tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama.
One summer day, I do remember asking him if he was going to cook anything. He said he had to go out for a bit. He wouldn't be back until Friday. But Friday, he would be back, and he would make sure to cook some chicken on Friday. All week I waited, went to school, was anticipating it, got off the bus, and ran home because I knew my father would be there making chicken. Got home, was so excited, find the house empty. I sat there alone until my mom came home, started cooking dinner. I told her she didn't need to. Father would be along to cook chicken. Well, I never did get that chicken. Ever. The world's best chicken you should only have once, right?
Slap your mama!
My father was the Boogie Man. I didn't want him coming around. When I was 8, I got a phone call. And I wasn't supposed to pick up the phone unless I knew who it was. We had an answering machine back then. In case you don't know what an answering machine is, it's a little box thing that hooks up to a phone. Oh, you probably don't know what a plug-in phone is either. You can look it up. I was supposed to wait for the answering machine to come on to make sure that I knew who it was before I picked up. This day, for some reason, I didn't. I can hear a ruckus in the background. He's slurring his words. But he's wanting to tell me goodbye because it's all over for him. He's telling me the cops got him pinned down in a house and he ain't going down like that. And that he hopes I understand. I was so confused, but I was trying to tell him I understood and figure out what was going on. I could hear someone in the background yelling about breaking down a door and let the hostages go. Phone went dead. I got a hold of my mom, who informed me that he'd taken my grandma hostage for some reason, was barricaded in the house with a BB gun, and wasn't going to come out because he was going out in a blaze of gunfire. The standoff lasted for 5 hours, I believe. It made the news. He finally was apprehended when he made a deal for a 6-pack, a Budweiser, and a pack of cigarettes. When he went outside to grab the beer and cigarettes, they tackled him. He didn't see it coming. That was probably the last time I think I spoke to my father as a child. My father remained a boogeyman in my mind. I was very angry with him. I blamed him for everything. I realized I was in a bunch of trouble when I got my first girlfriend. The first time I hit her because I was angry. I promised myself I would never ever hit a woman, ever. It was something I would not do. I'd seen my father do it too many times before. It wouldn't happen. And what do? I get angry and I punch my girlfriend in the face. When she understandably is upset about this, I inform her that if she had not gotten me that angry, I wouldn't have had to. I didn't want to correct her, all right? But she just wouldn't listen, so she had to be corrected. Sound familiar? It sounds a lot like my father. I was looking into it, and I don't blame parents for the decisions that we make as adults, because we have to take responsibility. At what point can you say that there's got to be a line, right? Of what's your decision making and then what is maybe you learned. You can unlearn things. So I can't blame my father for my anger issues. Maybe I could blame him for the very first time that I hit my girlfriend. That one, maybe. There might be some wiggle room there. Up until then, I did not know that I had this issue. I can connect it with watching him beat my mom. But after that first time, it's all on me, because now I know that this is an issue. I need to address it. If I learned it, I need to figure out how to unlearn it. Have I done that? Have I unlearned it? I would love to tell you yes. I will be 100% honest with you. No, I have not unlearned it. It's pretty ingrained. I have learned to not do it, to not go with that instinct. And that takes a lot of just don't get that angry. I have a temper that, if unchecked, is very destructive. I will lose control of my anger. I will go into a state of rage where I am watching it happen. Something else takes over entirely. I'm along for the ride. The solution to that is to not allow yourself to get angry. You cannot lose control of your anger if you don't allow yourself to get angry. At the age of 18, I made the decision to go find out who my father was. I didn't know the man. I just knew him as the Boogie Man, and I knew he couldn't just be the Boogie Man. I went and spent a week with him. I tried to be as open-minded as possible, trying to give this man a chance to, trying to give me a chance to get to know him. I put all the stuff from the past behind me as best as I could. I knew that I had a lot more in common with my dad than I did with my mom at this point. With the anger, I just saw a lot of traits of my father in me. Hell, I even looked like him. I looked at my mom and my dad, or my father and my mom's wedding picture. I looked almost like him, except I dressed better. One night, we wound up at this party. It was like a college party. I think we crashed this party, actually. We just showed up and just started drinking and mingled in. Well, my father's in the other room, being a jackass, trying to drink with these college kids. I'm 18, so I'm right about, I fit in with these kids pretty good, and I'm not being a jackass. And I wind up in a circle of people who are just talking about what a buffoon my father is. I didn't let on that it was my father. I have no reason to defend him. He was a buffoon. It made me realize something in that moment, though. I never wanted to be my father. Ever. I never wanted to be that man that would be at this college party in his 40s or whatever, trying to drink with these college kids and hit on these college girls. And they were all making him think that he was impressing the hell out of them. And he really was buying into it. He really thought that they liked him, but really they were just making fun of him. And the more they egged him on, the more stupid he got. It really was an eye-opener for me. My father was no longer the Boogie Man. He was a 40-something drunk that had lost his family because he chose alcohol over them, had never moved on from that, To this day, I think he would still say that my mom was the love of his life and that he wished he'd never lost us. He constantly says that in his mind he still believes that my mom and him might get back together and we might be a family. It's lunacy. Well, the night before I was going to leave, he stayed with this lady. He was living with this lady, mooching off of her. He was drunk, he was getting angry, and he shot her a look. And this look must have been a look that I had seen many times as a child because it triggered me instantaneously. Because I leaped up from where I was sitting, grabbed the table, shoved it against him. I ended up pushing him and across the room, pinning him up against the wall with the table. Where then I said something about if he ever looked at her that way again, or even thought about what he was thinking about, that I would kill him. And then I told him I was going to go to bed, and if he moved, if he tried to get up from the table or anything before I was in the bedroom, that I would kill him. I also let him know that if I heard anything that sounded like abuse, that I would come out and I would kill him. Pretty much I told him that it would probably be best if he left, and if he did stay, that he better not make any noise, or because I would kill him. I meant it 100%. My dad is a brawler. He likes to fight. Is he a good fighter? Who's to say? It's a toss-up. He wins some, he loses some. He's a drunk, though, with a temper. There's been nobody that I've ever heard of my dad ever not fighting. He took on a biker gang. I remember the worst beating I ever saw him. Well, I didn't see him take it, but I saw him when he got home. He left a smear of blood all the way down the hall. I mean, he looked like he needed to go to the emergency room because he hit on this biker chick. Her boyfriend didn't like it. Told my dad to get lost. My dad went out in the parking lot, sat there and drank until these bikers came out. And from what my uncle says, who was there was probably 6 of them. So once they come out of the bar, my dad goes over there, picks a fight with the dude, and they just beat his ass. Apparently, from what my uncle was saying, my dad wanted the ass beating, because even after he got his ass beat, he still kept getting up.
I didn't hear no bell. One more round.
Ain't Rocky. Yeah, he got his ass handed to him. But yeah, he wouldn't fight me. I don't know why. After that, I kind of lost contact with him. About every 2 to 3 years, he'd call, maybe on my birthday or Christmas. And I never really wanted to talk to him because he was just a broken down, pathetic old drunk. I wasn't angry with him. I didn't hold anything against him. Part of the reason is because I am so much like him. I, too, had a chick that I thought was the love of my life, and I thought about her way too much and obsessed over her way too much. So I could see how my dad could feel that way towards my mom, but he just never got over it. And I knew my dad loved me I know my father loves me on some level, but he doesn't know how to be a dad, or he doesn't know what to do. He's too much of a broken down drunk. Do I think he even tried? No. I don't think he tried. I don't think he expected to be a father. I don't think he wanted to be a father. I think he was in his 20s, maybe, or maybe he wasn't even in his 20s. He might have been in his late teens, early 20s. Fell in love with my mom. They hooked up. She ended up getting pregnant. So, okay, he'll have a kid. He's along for the ride. But he never took care of the family. He never supported the family. He just mooched off my mom, got drunk every day. Eventually, she gets sick of it and leaves, and he's all heartbroken and never gets to talk to his kid. But he never tries to reach out. He never tries to do anything. I could have easily gone that same route. The only difference between me and my father was I made sure I didn't have a kid. That was it. I made sure not to become a father. So that is a tribute to Daniel. Wherever he is today, I wish him the best. I hope that he has gotten the help he needs for his alcoholism, and I like to think that he is happy, sober, living a good life. Maybe. I didn't expect that. Alright, let's try that again. In my mind, I wish that I see him as having a little house and taking care of a garden, and just being happy. That's what I hope for him. Reality, he's probably drunk somewhere or dead. I don't know. I've lost complete contact with him. But I'd like to think of him as happy. I think he deserves it. I think everybody deserves it. I don't think anybody deserves to waste away because of their inability to get control over themselves. That is a fate I don't wish on anybody. So I hope he's happy. Let me know how your fathers are, or you can comment on my father. Either way, I need comments. Comment. I don't care what you comment about, as long as you comment in the comment section. Until next time, keep on keeping on.
I know that I'm a prisoner to all my father held so dear. I know that I'm a hostage to all his hopes and fears. I just wish I could have told him